I am by no means an expert. I don't even think I'm a top-rated amateur. But I know when a car goes good. Welcome to Scale Builders Guild. Thanks again for watching. Today we're taking a first look, run, and review of the new Team Associated DC10 Drift car. And here it is. It's a drift car. Yeah, and it's a kit. So that's fun too. This is Team Associated's first drift car, and it is a pretty darn good one right out of the box. I must say that first thing right out of the gate. And they market this as a more of a competition. It says it right on the box, actually. 1/10 rear-wheel drive competition drift kit. So they're definitely going after a certain portion of the market. This is not an entry-level car, but I guess technically it could be, and I'll explain that later on in the video. What you get in the box is not exactly what you see here, but pretty much exactly what you see here. The kit, being a more competition spec or pro-level kit, does not include wheels and tires, servo, motor, ESC, receiver, or gyro. And of course, there's no batteries or transmitter either. But what you are getting is a very stout kit for not a ton of money. It is a more premium price, that's fair to say, because there are a lot of premium parts. As you'll notice by just looking at it, carbon fiber, lots of blue anodized aluminum parts, which would be considered a hop-up on some kits. There are a lot of nice bits and pieces here to really make this feel and look a premium kit. And you're spending the money on it, but it's a good set of bits. One thing I noticed right away in the final assembly was how much steering there actually is. This does get very sideways, and it works. It works quite well. There's not any rubbing, great Ackerman, and a lot of adjustability. And that's one thing that I think puts this into a more competition or pro level of a build, because you can adjust everything. It does offer a ton of adjustability, and that's one thing that really sets it apart from, say, a more beginner level kit, is that everything can be tuned, which is good and bad. If you are new to this hobby, that much adjustability can be a bad thing, because sometimes you may do 2 or 3 changes and then you don't know which change made it worse. So then you got to go back and start again. Yes. Camber, caster, toe-in, KPI, and a lot more. According to the box, there's a near infinite number of tuning options. Being a competition-styled car, it does give you an option for including either a differential or a spool for the rear drive setup. So you can have both tires spinning at the same rate, like I've got it set up, or you can have a diff in there. They do include silicone, and it can be tuned as infinitely as you like as well. It's nice that they give you that option out of the box to try things differently. After I've had a bit more time with it with the spool, I will convert it to the diff and see how it does with that setup. Shocks feel really good. There's a nice bit of travel in there, not a ton, a little bit softer in the rear as per the setup instructions, but it works quite well. I'm pretty happy with how the suspension is tuned. I did set it up as recommended stock. So any driving footage that you're going to be seeing is without any tuning by anybody. That's literally the setup out of the box. And it actually did quite well. I was really impressed. Part of the whole equation is, of course, electronics. I'm running Reedy Electronics, which is a Team Associated brand. This is the Black Box 610R and an SP5 13.5 turn brushless censored motor. It's a really nice pairing for this car. It's one of the recommendations in the instructions. So I felt like this was a great place to try that stuff out. And I'm not nearly a good person to recommend for engine or motor setups. There are two other excellent YouTubers I recommend, Roadside RC and Shredcraft. I will put both of their links down below. They have excellent setup instructions for both ESCs, motors, and actual car setups too. And there's a lot to learn when it comes to drifting and a lot more for me to catch up on. But I am catching on pretty quickly and I'm really enjoying the process so far. In terms of the build of the car, this is where things fall apart a little bit. This manual, where is this manual? This manual is not very good. And I don't really know why it's not good, but I can tell you some examples that really kind of bothered me. In every single case, they may list a part number above what the actual part is and give you a reasonably good diagram of that part. But these codes mean nothing. Nothing. It may be in the manual here, but it certainly isn't on the part tree. So you really have to guess sometimes at what part is what because the diagrams are terrible. Let me give you a good example here. Yes, so in building the battery tray, you can see I've circled these two parts here because they just say battery tab spacer. There's 3 different sizes of spacer on the part tree, and there's no indication of what size you should be using. So in some cases, it's a little bit of trial and error. Perhaps you've got a lot more experience than I do. I built a lot of kits in my day, so it would be nice if this code meant something, or they just included the parts you wanted. Now I know that part of a chassis kit like this is the infinite number of adjustable options, but this should be something that they just spell out. It should be the middle one, or this is how tall it is. And there is no graphic here for how big that part is. You can't place it up against it. It's not 1-to-1, so you kind of have to guess. There were a lot of portions like that. Even going back to step 2, choosing the toe block for the front suspension, it just shows you an AB block, but there are a couple of them, and there's also the differing ways in which it could be installed, but they don't tell you which way it goes. While I was muddling my way through this build, I did share a lot of those details with my members. If you are a gold level ding dong, thank you so much for being a part of our member community. It's so great to share stuff before they've come out. It's nice to get your feedback on things as well. And if you're interested in joining, there will be a link down below where you can join the members only club here on the Scale Builders Guild, where you get access to all kinds of tips and tricks, special members only videos, live streams, which I think we're going to do one of those pretty soon, as well as maybe some giveaways. I think I've got a giveaway coming up just for members, so be sure to check that out down below. All right, back to the car. With only a few laps under my belt, I was able to get this around the track quite convincingly and actually look pretty good. I will say that the stock setup works very well out of the box, and I was pretty impressed overall with the capability of the car. The amount of steering that is available to you, even with a just generic servo that I put in here, it worked very well. I was super impressed. Is this the sort of kit that you would recommend to somebody just getting started? If you want to stick to the stock setup, then yeah, absolutely. If you've got zero experience and you want something that's going to give you some room to grow, modify, change things down the road, then this is a great place to start. If you're going to be trying something out for the first time, this is a pretty expensive place to start because you do have to provide all of your own electronics. I might recommend an RTR. It might be an easier thing to get rid of if you're not interested in this after trying it out. I will say though, I love drift. I didn't think I'd ever say that, honestly. It's one of those things where I was like, nah, this isn't for me. And then I tried it, and I was like, yes, I absolutely get it, 100%. So great work, Team Associated for your first ever drift car, the DC10. I'm pretty impressed, and I think you will be too. If you're interested in picking one of these up, there will be a link down below in the description. And of course, if you're enjoying this video, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and ring that notification bell so you get updates anytime there's a new video from the Scale Builders Guild. A couple of things I forgot to mention. The first half of this little bit of running footage is all going to be in slow motion, so you get a good idea of how easy this car is to control, the dynamics of it when you see it on track. Then the second half it'll be all in real time, so you can get a better idea of how it's going to look when you're driving it. A couple of notes, there is also the ability to set up the motor position in two different ways, an up-high motor like I've set it up, or a down-low motor like some people prefer. I like that extra weight up high, tends to give the body a bit more roll, and I find it's just a much more modern style of setup. The body I'm running here is just a Traxxas Cadillac CTS. This came from a Fortec 2.0 and was what I had on hand. I'm going to have a much more drift-inspired body next time you see this car. And hopefully that'll be soon. As you can see from the running footage, it is a nice smooth car, even with a pretty basic gyro like I've got here, the Yokomo YG302, which is not a super high-end gyro, but it works super well. It's a really nice car, nicely balanced, and I found myself just drifting quite naturally with it right away. Throttle is a big part of it, especially with a spool, and one of the other experts at the track that I let drive the car remarked on that pretty much right away. He said, you should probably try getting away from the spool and going towards a diff. Having that free wheel all the time in one of the wheels or both of the wheels gives you a little more control, and you don't have to always be on throttle. So that's something I'm definitely going to give a try. And like I said, please check out all the setup tips from Shredcraft RC and Roadside RC. I'll put their links down below. Thank you to those guys for putting up great videos on how to set up and how to work with a drift car. I learned a ton. I'm sure you will too, but not from me. Thanks, of course, to Associated for sending this DC10 my way so I could do this review, and of course to you for watching. You make it all possible. We'll see you again soon.